Jackson had never felt so small. The spaceship trembled as it pierced through the thick clouds of the alien planet. He had been sent on what was supposed to be a routine exploration mission, far from Earth, a world no human had walked before. But as he looked through the viewport, he felt a strange chill crawl over his spine. The planet below was silent, eerily quiet. Jagged mountains cut through clouds like broken teeth, and in the valley below, a city of silver towers sparkled under the strange golden light of the planet's twin suns. As the landing bay doors opened, Jackson's boots met the alien ground. The air was heavier than Earth's, warm and carrying a sweet, almost musical scent. He breathed deeply, trying to calm the flutter in his chest. This world should have felt alive, but it did not. Not a single creature moved. No birds flew. No insects buzzed. Even the wind seemed reluctant to stir. Jackson walked carefully toward the center of the city, his curiosity pushing him forward despite the growing unease. Then he saw her. She appeared suddenly atop a high platform, enormous and regal. Her skin shimmered like liquid metal, silver and blue, reflecting the twin suns. Her eyes glowed with pale blue fire, deep and infinite like the stars themselves. She did not move, but her presence commanded the space around her. Every instinct in Jackson's body screamed to run, yet his feet were frozen. And then unexpectedly he heard her, not with his ears but inside his mind. A voice calm and deep, powerful yet sad. "You are here, finally." Jackson staggered back, gasping. His heart pounded against his ribs like a drum. He had seen alien life in simulations and reports, but nothing prepared him for this. The being in front of him was not just alive. She was something beyond human understanding, immense, intelligent, and aware of him in ways he could not measure. He tried to speak. I don't mean any harm," he said, his voice small in the vast empty city. The Queen's eyes didn't move, yet he felt her gaze pierce through him, into the depths of his mind as though reading his every thought, every fear. And then she did something that made his chest tighten. She projected memories into his mind. Jackson saw glimpses of her people, a civilization brilliant and vibrant. Cities alive with music, laughter, and lights that danced like fireflies. Streets crowded with creatures of every color and shape, all moving in harmony. And then, suddenly, they were gone. The streets emptied. The towers shined alone, cold and silent. The music stopped, the laughter vanished, and a wave of sadness hit Jackson so hard that he stumbled to his knees. "You are alone here," the Queen's voice echoed in his head again. "But you are not insignificant." Jackson's hands shook. I don't understand. What do you mean?" Her gaze softened slightly, though her form still radiated power. Memories of battles fought, victories won, and lives lost flashed through his mind. The weight of centuries pressed down on him. And then the words came, as clear as daylight in the alien sky. "You are the last man on my world, the last to witness, the last to survive. And now the fate of this planet rests with you." Jackson felt the ground tilt beneath him. The thought was unbearable. Last man. Entire civilizations gone. And now he was trapped on a world that was no longer alive, facing a being of such overwhelming power that even thinking about resistance seemed impossible. Fear and awe tangled inside him. He looked up at the Queen, and for the first time he realized something remarkable. Despite her immense strength, despite her alien nature, there was sorrow in her presence. She was not just a ruler, not just a warrior. She was a guardian of memory, a mourner for a world lost, and now, inexplicably, he had become part of her grief. Jackson took a shaky breath, staring at the towering alien before him. This was not just an alien planet. This was a place of endings and beginnings, and somehow he had arrived at the center of it all. Whatever came next, he knew one thing: nothing on Earth had prepared him for this. And in the silence of the empty city under the gaze of the alien queen, Jackson understood that his life had changed forever. Jackson could barely breathe. The words of the alien queen echoed inside his mind, spinning like a storm. "You are the last man on my world." He stumbled backward, the reality sinking in. Last man. Not just on this planet, but the last human alive here. Every other soul, every explorer who might have come before him, gone. Erased. His legs felt weak as he sank onto the cold silver ground. He had expected alien landscapes, strange creatures, maybe even danger, but never this. The loneliness was suffocating. The city stretched around him, empty and silent, its towers gleaming in the twin suns, yet no warmth of life existed anywhere. His heartbeat roared in his ears. What did she mean by the last man? How did everyone vanish? The queen moved closer, though Jackson could not tell if she walked or floated. Her presence filled the space, making him feel tiny, fragile, and painfully human. "The plague came, wars came, the storms came, and my people, they are gone," her voice said in his mind, calm but laced with sorrow. She was not angry nor cruel. She was mourning. And now, somehow, he had stepped into that grief. Jackson swallowed hard, forcing words out. I don't understand. Why me? Why am I here?" His voice trembled, but the queen answered before he could finish, projecting visions into his mind. He saw history unfold, cities shining with light, people laughing, children running through streets made of crystal and metal. Their voices rang like music. Then darkness. Fire, storms, and chaos swept across the planet. Creatures falling, machines breaking, towers crumbling. The life that once thrived here was gone. And through it all, the alien queen stood, watching, powerless to stop it. "You were meant to survive," she whispered, not with lips but with thought. "Your species has a strength mine cannot understand, and now the planet needs that strength." Jackson's chest tightened. Needs that strength. He was just a man, a human with no weapons, no army, no experience in survival on alien worlds. Yet her gaze, soft yet commanding, seemed to place responsibility on him, as if centuries of history, every life that had lived here, now rested on his shoulders. Fear clawed at him. "I'm not ready. I can't," his words caught in his throat. He tried to look away, to imagine returning to his spaceship, returning to Earth. But even as he thought it, he realized he could not leave. The city was bound by invisible forces, and her eyes, bright with intelligence and sorrow, followed him wherever he moved. "You are here, you cannot leave." "Not yet," the queen said. Her voice was firm but not cruel. "But this is not punishment, it is opportunity." Jackson's mind reeled. Opportunity. For what? To survive alone, to be trapped forever. And yet beneath the terror, a flicker of understanding sparked. Perhaps she was offering him something greater, a chance to carry life forward, to be more than a survivor. He looked at her, truly looked, and saw a being of immense power, grief, and wisdom. She was not just a queen. She was the last guardian of a civilization that could not endure. And somehow she had chosen him to continue, to witness, to act. Jackson felt the weight of the moment settle on him like a heavy cloak. He was terrified, yes. Lonely, yes. But also honored in a strange, inexplicable way. The last human on this planet. The only one left to face what remained. The queen extended a shimmering hand, her metal-like skin glinting in the sun. "Come, learn, survive. This world is yours to hold." Jackson hesitated. His human mind screamed to run, to escape, to deny this unimaginable fate. But deep inside, he knew he could not. She had shown him the truth. The planet was empty, the people gone, and now he was the center of everything that remained. With a trembling hand, he reached toward her. Not in surrender, not in fear, but in acceptance of the impossible. And as their fingers nearly touched, Jackson understood that his journey had only just begun. and that the revelation of being the last man was not the end. It was the beginning of a story far larger than himself. Jackson woke to the alien sun rising over the silent city. The streets shimmered in golden light, but the beauty of the place could not erase the dread twisting inside him. He had hoped, even for a moment, that he could leave the planet, return to his spaceship, maybe report back to Earth. But the truth came crashing down as he took his first steps toward the edges of the city. Invisible walls blocked his path. He reached out, expecting to touch air, but his hand hit an unseen barrier. A ripple of blue light shimmered and disappeared, leaving him staring in disbelief. He tried to walk around it, climb over it, even dig at the ground, but every attempt failed. The city itself had become a cage, and he realized with a sinking heart that the Queen's words were no empty threat. He was trapped. "Why?" he whispered aloud, frustration and fear choking his voice. The Queen's presence filled his mind immediately, calm and unwavering. "You are part of this world now. You cannot leave, not yet." Trapped? The word echoed through Jackson's mind like a drumbeat. He was alone, truly alone, on a planet that had once thrived with millions of lives, and now he was bound here by forces he could not understand. Panic clawed at him, sharp and insistent. The last man, the last survivor, and the entire world's fate resting on him. But the Queen did not seem cruel. She did not attack or threaten. She simply watched, her luminous eyes tracing his every move. And slowly, a strange thought took root in Jackson's mind. Perhaps she was not holding him prisoner. Perhaps this was not punishment. Perhaps she was testing him. The days that followed were a strange mixture of fear, awe, and wonder. Jackson explored the empty towers, climbing spiraling staircases that seemed to reach toward the skies, wandering through halls lined with alien symbols that pulsed with soft light. He discovered abandoned homes, empty gardens, and machines that hummed faintly, as if remembering the lives that once sustained them. The Queen often appeared beside him, silently, watching, guiding. He noticed that the city reacted to her presence. Lights would follow her, doors would open, and some of the machinery would awaken at her thought. Jackson realized that she was not just a ruler but a living connection to the planet itself. Her grief, her power, and her memory were intertwined with everything around them. Fear slowly transformed into determination. Jackson began to understand that escaping was not the point. The planet, the Queen, and perhaps even the fate of her lost civilization were all tied to him now. The invisible walls, the emptiness of the streets, the silence, all were part of a test, though he did not yet know the rules. One evening he stood on a high balcony overlooking the city. The twin suns dipped below the jagged horizon, casting long shadows over the silver towers. The Queen approached, her form radiant in the dim light. "You are frightened. That is natural, but fear alone will not save this world. Courage will." Jackson turned to her, his chest tight with a mixture of awe and desperation. "Courage," he whispered. "I don't even know where to start. I'm just me." Her eyes softened, reflecting the last rays of sunlight. "Your species has a strength mine cannot understand. You endure what others could not. That is why you are here. That is why you are trapped. To awaken what remains. To survive where others could not." The weight of her words pressed down on him, heavy and unyielding. Jackson realized that being trapped was not a punishment. It was a responsibility. The Queen, the city, and even the echoes of her lost people depended on him in ways he could not yet comprehend. He took a deep breath, feeling the cool alien air fill his lungs. For the first time he felt a strange mixture of fear and resolve. He was trapped, yes, but perhaps this trap was also a chance, an opportunity to prove something human, something uniquely his. Jackson clenched his fists, staring at the horizon where the mountains cut sharp lines into the sky. He would not run. He would not hide. If this was the beginning of a new world, he would face it head-on. And as the Queen watched silently, Jackson took his first step into the unknown, knowing that the true challenge of this planet was only just beginning. Days stretched into nights on the silent planet, and Jackson began to understand the depth of his isolation. The city, once vibrant with life, now echoed only his footsteps and the quiet hum of machinery left behind. At first, he had tried to imagine leaving, to find a way beyond the invisible barriers that trapped him. But slowly he realized that escaping was impossible. He was not a visitor here. He was part of something much larger, something tied to the planet and the alien queen herself. She appeared again that evening, her form glimmering in the dim light of the twin moons. Her presence was both terrifying and comforting, like standing next to a storm that could destroy you or protect you. Jackson could feel her thoughts brushing against his mind, gentle but insistent. "You are afraid. That is natural, but fear alone will not guide you. You must understand this world and me." Jackson swallowed hard. "Understand you?" he asked aloud, though her voice was already in his head. "I don't even understand what happened here. How could I understand you?" "You will learn, you must." For the first time, Jackson allowed himself to notice the sadness behind her brilliance. She was more than a ruler or a warrior. She carried centuries of memory, grief, and responsibility. Her eyes glowed softly, and he saw visions of her people, their lives, their struggles, their laughter. He felt the loneliness that weighed on her like gravity, the emptiness of leading a civilization that no longer existed. Jackson realized that the Queen was not just powerful, she was vulnerable. She had ruled, protected, and mourned, yet she had never truly been understood. Until now. Until him. Tentatively, he spoke again. I don't know how to help. I'm just a human. I don't belong here. Maybe I shouldn't even be here." "You belong because you endure. You belong because you survived where others could not. You are different. Your heart is strong in ways I cannot measure. That is why I allowed you to come here." Her words were not comfort alone, they were truth. Jackson could feel it deep in his chest. Even in his fear, he felt a strange warmth, a connection forming between him and the being who had at first seemed untouchable. He was human, fragile, and yet the Queen saw something in him that even he did not recognize, the power to persist, to adapt, and to care. Days passed, and Jackson began to explore the city differently. No longer as an intruder or a prisoner, but as a companion, learning its history, observing its patterns, listening to its quiet whispers. The Queen guided him gently, showing him the remnants of her civilization. Together, they walked through empty gardens, through towers where light danced like memory, and through halls where echoes of laughter still lingered. The bond between them grew. Jackson realized that the Queen was lonely not just because her people were gone, but because no one had ever truly seen her, understood her grief or her wisdom. And now, in the silence, he could. One evening, standing on a balcony overlooking the city, Jackson spoke softly. I think I understand now. You aren't just a ruler. You're everything your people loved. You're the memory of them." "Yes," she replied, her voice almost a whisper in his mind. "And you are the first human to truly see me. You are part of this world now, not as a conqueror, but as a witness. Together, we can keep what remains alive." Jackson felt a shiver run through him, not from fear, but from awe. He had come to the planet alone, expecting danger, perhaps adventure, but not connection. Yet here he was, forming a bond that transcended species, language, and time itself. For the first time, Jackson did not feel trapped. He felt chosen, not for power, not for conquest, but for understanding, companionship, and survival. He realized that the Queen had opened a door for him, not just to the city, but to trust, hope, and purpose. As the twin moons rose above the city, casting silver light over the empty towers, Jackson stood beside the alien queen. Their hands nearly touched, and in that quiet, suspended moment, he understood something incredible. He was not alone, and perhaps he never would be. And for the first time since arriving, Jackson allowed himself to hope that he could endure this world, not as a prisoner but as part of something extraordinary. The next morning, Jackson awoke to a soft, glowing light filling the room. The alien queen waited for him at the center, her form radiant, her eyes deep with expectation. "Today," she said in his mind, "you will face the trial of the ancients. It is the test of survival, of courage, and of heart. Only by passing can you awaken the life of this world." Jackson swallowed hard. A test. He had survived storms, fear, and isolation, but the word trial made his chest tighten. He wanted to ask questions, to understand the rules, but the queen's gaze stopped him. She did not speak aloud. The challenge was not for her, it was for him. The ground beneath him shimmered, forming a platform that floated high above the city. Jackson felt weightless, suspended between the glowing towers and the endless sky. Then, without warning, shadows emerged from the platform, forming shapes of the planet's lost citizens. Their eyes glowed with sorrow, disappointment, and accusation. "You are not ready," they whispered in voices like wind over broken glass. "You are weak. You do not belong here." Jackson's first instinct was to retreat. He stumbled back, heart racing. But the queen's presence filled him, steady and strong. "Face them. Endurance is your strength. Courage is your choice." He took a deep breath and stepped forward. Each shadow became a test, a memory of failure, a fear, a doubt he had carried inside himself since arriving. One shape lunged at him, screaming, "You will fail like all others." He dodged instinctively, relying on the human reflexes and persistence that had brought him this far. Another shadow formed into a child, smiling and crying at the same time. Jackson froze, torn between compassion and fear. "You cannot save them," the voices said. "They are gone." But he did not turn away. He reached out, touching the shadow, and whispered, "I can remember you. I can honor you. I will not let you be forgotten." The platform trembled. The shadows recoiled, some dissolving into light, others circling him with quiet approval. The challenge was not about fighting. It was about facing the weight of loss, understanding courage, and embracing responsibility. Jackson felt exhaustion creeping into his bones, yet a fire burned inside him, stronger than fear. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time had no meaning here. He battled visions of storms, memories of the planet's destruction, and doubts that whispered he was not enough. Each step forward felt like climbing a mountain made of glass. But human persistence, stubbornness, and heart kept him moving. Every fear he faced, every shadow he acknowledged, he grew stronger. Finally, as the twin suns began to rise, a golden light enveloped the platform. The shadows faded, leaving Jackson alone, but changed. His chest heaved with effort, but he felt a deep, unshakable connection to the planet, the Queen, and its lost civilization. The Queen appeared beside him, her hand hovering near his. "You have endured," she said, her voice both gentle and proud. "You have faced what others could not. The trial is complete. You carry the strength of your species and the memory of my people. You are the bridge between past and future." Jackson sank to his knees, exhaustion and relief flooding him. He realized something extraordinary. This trial was not just a test of strength. It was a test of heart, courage, and humanity. He had survived not because of weapons or technology, but because he cared, because he endured, because he refused to abandon hope. The platform descended slowly, returning him to the city streets. The towers shimmered, rivers of light flowing through them as if awakening from a long sleep. The Queen stood tall, her eyes bright, reflecting pride and wonder. "You have awakened what remains," she whispered. "The planet remembers, and now it remembers you." Jackson looked around at the glowing city, feeling a strange mixture of fear and triumph. He had faced impossible challenges, battled shadows of the past, and survived when no one else could. And in that survival, he had found purpose, connection, and the first glimmer of hope in a world that had been lost. He stood brushing dust from his shoulders, and for the first time since arriving he felt truly alive. The trial of the ancients was over, but the journey of this planet and his place in it had only just begun. After the trial of the ancients, the city felt alive in a way Jackson had never imagined. Light pulsed through the silver towers like veins, and faint sounds of wind, water, and memory whispered around him. The queen walked beside him, her presence steady and luminous. She did not speak aloud. Her thoughts entered his mind, calm but powerful. "You have endured. You carry the strength of both your world and mine. Now you must awaken what remains." Jackson looked at the empty streets, at gardens and fountains frozen in time, at machines that hummed faintly as if remembering life. He felt a strange pull inside him, a connection between himself, the queen, and the planet itself. It was as if the city had been waiting for him, waiting for human endurance to bring it back to life. "Me," he whispered aloud, though he knew she would hear him in her mind. How can I awaken it? I'm just one person." "You are not just one person. You are human. You endure, you persist, you care. That is enough." Jackson took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the twin suns on his skin. Slowly, he extended his hands toward the glowing streets. He focused, letting every memory, every hope, every fear of the planet flow through him. At first, nothing happened. Then small lights began to flicker in the towers like stars awakening. He gasped as rivers of energy flowed through the streets, shimmering and vibrant, bringing life back to the city. The queen's eyes glowed brighter than ever. "Yes, this is the beginning." Jackson felt tears prick his eyes. He had never imagined that he, a single human, could make such a difference. The loneliness, the fear, the feeling of being trapped, it all melted into purpose. For the first time, he felt that he belonged, not just on this planet, but in its story, in the legacy of a civilization that had almost vanished. As the city brightened, Jackson noticed subtle changes. Gardens bloomed, fountains gushed with water, and the hum of machinery became a melody that echoed through the towers. The air, once heavy and silent, was filled with energy, warmth, and life. The queen placed a hand near his, not touching but close enough that he felt her approval and pride. "Together, we have awakened the memory of my people. You are part of it now." Jackson looked at her, feeling a strange mixture of awe and connection. She had been so powerful, so untouchable, yet now she shared her world with him, not as a ruler to a subject, but as a companion, a partner in survival and hope. He spoke softly, almost afraid to break the moment. "It's beautiful. I didn't think I could do this. I didn't think I could matter." "You matter," she replied. "Your heart, your courage, your endurance, these are what save worlds. This planet, my people, and I, we are alive because of you." A gentle breeze stirred, carrying the faint scent of flowers and life, and Jackson realized that the planet itself seemed to breathe again. He felt energy coursing through his veins, not because of power, but because of understanding, hope, and connection. The city had not just awakened, it had remembered humanity's potential through him. The twin moons rose again, casting silver light over the towers. Jackson stood on the balcony, the queen beside him, and felt a peace he had never known. The fear of being trapped, the loneliness, the weight of being the last human, all of it had transformed. He was no longer alone. He was not merely surviving. He was helping a world live again. And in that moment, Jackson understood something profound. Survival was not enough. Endurance was not enough. True strength came from heart, courage, and the willingness to carry hope where it seemed lost. The city pulsed beneath him, alive and radiant, and Jackson realized that he and the Queen had not only survived, they had awakened the very soul of the planet. A new beginning had started, and for the first time he could see a future filled with possibility, connection, and wonder. Jackson smiled, feeling something he had never felt before: purpose, belonging, and the incredible weight and beauty of being part of a story larger than himself. Jackson stood on the highest tower, the twin suns dipping behind jagged mountains, casting long shadows over the now glowing city. He could feel the pulse of life beneath him. The energy of the planet awakened, humming softly, almost like a heartbeat. He had come as the last man, trapped and afraid, but now he felt something he had never expected: hope. True, fragile, and beautiful hope. The alien queen appeared beside him, her form shimmering like liquid silver in the dying sunlight. She did not speak aloud, yet he felt her thoughts in his mind, calm, deep, and steady. "You have done what none others could. You carry the heart of your species and the memory of mine. Together, we have begun again." Jackson exhaled slowly, letting the weight of months, the fear, the loneliness, the trials fall from his shoulders. He remembered the first day he had set foot on this empty planet, trembling before a being of immense power, hearing the words that he was the last man. At the time, he had felt fear that was almost physical, a terror so sharp it had seemed impossible to survive. And yet here he was, alive, changed, and stronger than he had ever been. I never thought I could do this," Jackson admitted aloud, though she heard him in his mind. "I thought being trapped meant the end, but maybe it meant the beginning." "It was always the beginning," she replied, her thoughts carrying warmth he could feel deep in his chest. "You are the first hope of a world that has known only loss for too long, and now, you and I, we will rebuild it together." Jackson turned his gaze to the city, watching streams of golden light flow through streets, gardens blooming with alien flora and towers standing taller, proud and radiant. It was not the city of the past, but a new one, shaped by memory, hope, and the resilience of life. He realized then that being the last human was not a curse, it was a gift. He was a bridge, a survivor, a caretaker, and a companion. The Queen extended her hand. Jackson hesitated for only a moment before taking it. Her touch was neither cold nor harsh. It was grounding, connecting him to her, the planet, and the future. In that moment, he felt a bond stronger than fear, stronger than distance or difference. They were partners, guardians, and witnesses to a new era. "Together," he whispered, his voice carrying in the silence of the city. "Together," she echoed. As the twin moons rose, casting silver light across the towers and gardens, Jackson felt a profound peace. He was no longer trapped, not in fear, not in loneliness. He had faced trials that had tested his mind, heart, and courage. He had seen the shadows of the past, confronted loss, and endured when all hope seemed gone. And now he had discovered something extraordinary. Humanity's strength was not in weapons or technology. It was in endurance, heart, and the willingness to care for others, even when the world seemed empty. Jackson's chest swelled with pride, humility, and gratitude. He realized that the planet's life, the memory of its people, and the future they would build together now rested in his hands, not as a burden, but as a responsibility filled with purpose. He was the last human, yes, but he was also the first hope. The Queen's presence beside him shimmered, reflecting the new light of the city. She had been the guardian, the ruler, the mourner of her civilization. But now she had a companion, someone who could understand, share, and carry the weight of this world with her. Jackson looked at the horizon, at mountains, towers, and rivers of light. A gentle breeze carried the scent of blooming alien flowers, the soft hum of life, and the whisper of possibility. For the first time, he felt truly alive, not just surviving but part of something extraordinary. And in that quiet, suspended moment, Jackson understood the truth of his journey. Being trapped had led him to discover courage, connection, and hope. The last man had become the first hope, and the world, this planet of loss and memory, was now theirs to nurture, rebuild, and protect. He squeezed the Queen's hand, a promise in silence, a vow without words. Together they would face the future, not with fear but with heart, courage, and the unbreakable strength of life. The twin moons bathed the city in silver light, and Jackson smiled, knowing that this was not an ending. It was the beginning of a new era for him, for the Queen, and for the planet they now called home.